Kierra Coles was 26 years old when she vanished without a trace from the south side of Chicago in October 2018. A dedicated U.S. Postal Service worker and expectant mother, Kierra had her future planned out. But what began as a normal day quickly spiraled into a mystery that remains unsolved to this day. The last known sighting of Kierra was captured on a neighbor's surveillance camera. She's seen walking down the street dressed for work, wearing her postal uniform. But strangely, she wasn't scheduled to work that day. And even more baffling, she never reported to her job at all. Her family grew concerned almost immediately. Kierra was known to stay in close contact, especially with her mother, with whom she shared a close bond. When she missed a scheduled check-in and couldn't be reached by phone, her loved ones knew something was wrong. A wellness check at her apartment raised more questions than answers. Her car was still parked outside, her purse and cell phone were inside, and nothing appeared disturbed. It was as if she had just stepped out for a moment and never came back. As the days passed, the investigation grew more complicated. Authorities announced they believed Kierra was missing under suspicious circumstances. They revealed that someone had accessed her bank account days after her disappearance, but they wouldn't say who. Speculation began to swirl, especially around Kierra's boyfriend at the time, who, according to her family, had a child with another woman. Some reports suggested a possible love triangle and tensions surrounding Kierra's pregnancy. But no one has ever been publicly named a suspect, and no arrests have been made. Kierra's mother, Karen Phillips, has remained a tireless advocate, pushing for answers and attention to her daughter's case. She continues to hold vigils and plead for the public's help, believing someone knows what happened and is simply staying silent. Despite national media coverage and a $25,000 reward for information, the case remains unsolved. No major developments have been publicly shared in years. For Kierra's family, the silence is unbearable. Her due date has long since passed, and a mother still waits for her daughter and grandchild, who never came home. Kierra Coles was more than just a headline. She was a daughter, a sister, a friend, and an expectant mother with dreams. Someone, somewhere, knows what happened. And until the truth comes out, her disappearance will remain a haunting mystery on the streets of Chicago. In October 2022, 25-year-old Shanquella Robinson left Charlotte, North Carolina, for what was supposed to be a dream vacation in Cabo San Lucas, Mexico. She traveled with a group of friends, people she trusted, but within 24 hours of arriving, Shanquella was dead. What happened in that villa has since sparked outrage, heartbreak, and global attention. Her family received the devastating news from her travel companions. They told them that Shanquella had died from alcohol poisoning. But the story didn't sit right. The details were vague, inconsistent, and deeply troubling. When her body was returned to the United States, the official autopsy told a completely different story. It revealed that Shanquella had suffered a broken neck and a cracked spine. Her death was classified as violent. There was no mention of alcohol poisoning. Then, a disturbing video surfaced. It showed Shanquella being brutally beaten by another woman in the villa. She was clearly not fighting back. In the background, a male voice can be heard encouraging the violence. The footage spread across social media, and with it, so did public anger. The video raised urgent questions. Who recorded it? Why didn't anyone intervene? And how did a young woman end up dead, surrounded by people who claimed to be her friends? The FBI launched an investigation, and Mexican authorities declared Shanquella's death a femicide, an intentional killing of a woman based on her gender. A warrant was issued for one of the people seen in the video. But despite international pressure, no arrests have been made in the United States. Shanquella's parents have fought relentlessly for justice. They've met with government officials, held press conferences, and pleaded with both Mexican and U.S. authorities to act. But as time has passed, frustration has grown. Critics have pointed to the complexities of international law and diplomatic procedures as reasons for the delay. But for Shanquella's family, those explanations fall short. They believe the case has been mishandled, and that if the roles were reversed, justice might have already been served. What began as a trip among friends ended in tragedy and confusion. A young woman's life was taken, and the people closest to her have offered little more than silence. Shanquella Robinson deserved more. She was a business owner, a daughter, and a bright light in her community. Her story is not just a true crime. It's a call for accountability, transparency, and justice across borders. Until answers are found and those responsible are held accountable, her case remains an open wound, one that demands to be seen, heard, and never forgotten. On December 27, 2010, 13-year-old Haley Dunn vanished from her small town of Colorado City, Texas. She was last seen at her home, reportedly planning to walk to a friend's house, but she never arrived, and she never returned. What began as a typical day after Christmas quickly spiraled into a mystery that would grip the community for years. The search for Haley became one of the most high-profile missing child cases in Texas. Haley lived with her mother, Billy Dunn, and her mother's boyfriend, Sean Adkins. It was Adkins who claimed he last saw Haley around 3 p.m. that day. He said she told him she was walking to a friend's house to spend the night, but the friend later confirmed Haley never showed up, and something about the story didn't add up. Soon, Sean Adkins became the focus of intense scrutiny. Investigators uncovered inconsistencies in his statements, and he reportedly failed a polygraph test. Cell phone records also raised red flags, showing movements that contradicted his version of events. Despite the suspicions, no one was arrested. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months, and still no sign of Haley. The case drew national media attention. Search teams, helicopters, and volunteers scoured the Texas countryside. Candlelight vigils were held, billboards went up. Her image became known across the state, but every lead turned cold. Then, in March 2013, over 2 years after Haley went missing, her remains were discovered by a man walking near Lake J.B. Thomas, about 20 miles from her home. The discovery brought devastating closure, but also reignited calls for justice. Her death was ruled a homicide. But once again, the case stalled. It wouldn't be until 2021, a full decade after Haley's disappearance, that a major break finally came. Sean Adkins, long suspected by both law enforcement and the public, was arrested and charged with her murder. Authorities have not disclosed all the details, but the indictment marked a long-awaited turning point. For Haley's family and the many who never stopped searching for answers, it was the first step toward accountability. Haley Dunn was just a teenager. She had dreams of becoming a teacher. She loved softball, music, and spending time with friends. Her life was cut short, her potential stolen. Her story is one of heartbreak, of years of silence, and of a mother's unrelenting pursuit of justice. While the trial is still pending and questions remain, one thing is clear. Haley's voice may have been silenced, but it was never forgotten. Gabby Petito was 22 years old when she set out on a cross-country van life trip with her fiancé, Brian Laundrie, in the summer of 2021. Their journey was documented on social media, where Gabby appeared happy, adventurous, and full of life. But behind the filtered photos and scenic backdrops, something was unraveling. By early September, Gabby was missing. The couple had started their road trip in July, traveling from Florida in a white Ford Transit van. They visited national parks, shared travel content, and built a growing online following. But concerns began to rise when Gabby stopped communicating with her family in late August. Her last confirmed contact came on August 27th. Days later, Brian Laundrie returned to his parents' home in Florida, alone and without explanation. He offered no public statement. In fact, he refused to speak to police. Gabby's family was left in the dark, desperately pleading for answers. The van was recovered, but Gabby was not. As national attention grew, body cam footage from a police stop in Moab, Utah, was released. It showed a visibly upset Gabby and a calm but evasive Brian. The couple had been involved in a physical altercation. Gabby took most of the blame, apologizing repeatedly. Police ultimately separated them for the night but made no arrests. To many watching, the footage was a red flag missed. On September 19th, Gabby's remains were found in a remote area of Grand Teton National Park in Wyoming. She had been strangled. Her death was ruled a homicide. By then, Brian Laundrie had vanished. A manhunt ensued. For over a month, authorities searched the swamps and nature preserves of Florida. On October 20th, his skeletal remains were discovered in the Carlton Reserve near his parents' home. A notebook found nearby contained a written confession. Brian admitted to killing Gabby. The case captivated and divided the public. It raised questions about domestic violence, media bias, and the role of social media in real-time investigations. While Gabby's story ended in tragedy, it sparked broader conversations about missing persons and abusive relationships. Gabby Petito was more than a headline. She was a daughter, a sister, a friend, and a young woman full of potential. Her family has since created the Gabby Petito Foundation, dedicated to supporting victims of domestic abuse and advocating for missing persons across the country. Her story will be remembered not only for its heartbreaking ending, but for the light she brought to the lives of those who knew her, and the awareness her case brought to victims whose stories too often go untold.